Yeah, sure. So, living in America when I was young, so we came to the U.S. when I was 1 years old. So I was born. Basically, the U.S. opened the doors, and we popped on over. And my dad brought the whole family. There was five of us. Did not know any English. Starting over from almost nothing. My dad had to go back to school because he was a licensed pharmacist, and the U.S. did not recognize that. So he was basically like doing any job possible until he could get his license. So he was sweeping floors, he was selling wigs on the street. My mom was selling costume jewelry in East Harlem and like popping in and out of a cardboard box, literally to like keep warm in the wintertime. It was crazy. And for me, I mean, although I don't remember those days, we lived in really small towns. So we lived in a city in Flushing and we moved out to upstate New York. And never forget this one moment, I think I was about 8 years old, and we lived in a small town called Rome, and almost everyone in that town was related. Almost everyone was Italian because the town was called Rome. And my best friend Tommy lived next door to me, and his aunt lived two doors away, and then his cousins lived on the other side. And we'd always like play in his backyard, a big yard. We played baseball, the typical American stuff. And then one day we were playing kickball in his aunt's backyard, and it was just a normal day. He was out there, and all of a sudden, one of his aunts comes out the door, starts screaming, "Get that thing out of here." And I'm looking around, everyone's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Get that thing out of here." And at first I thought she was talking about the ball, and I realized she was staring at me. So I was the thing, and she wanted me out of her yard. And like that was, I think, one of the first big moments that I was faced, in my face with racism and discrimination. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was. It scared me, and I felt mortified. I went running home, and I remember like crying and kind of explaining it to my mom, but not really because I found embarrassed. And only years later, I realized that that was just a horrible thing to do to anyone. And for this woman, who is the senior, she's an adult. I was 8 years old. Like, how do you treat an 8-year-old like that? And so that was, that formulated for me, one, to give me some inner strength on how am I going to deal with those kind of situations. And at first, like I said, I felt ashamed and I felt embarrassed about who I am, and my heritage as an Asian. But then I realized that no, those are things to be proud of, and those are things that give me strength. And I actually like standing out. I like being a little different from the crowd. And that woman, she was a bitch. So looking back, like shame on her. But that gave me really a strong sense of self. And so I thank her for that, and it also gave me strength in like looking and having compassion for other people who have people coming at them for whatever reasons, whether it is their shape of their eyes, the color of skin, their sex, their orientation, whatever. It's all hate, And so for me, because of those lessons I learned early on, I just have no patience for hate. I'm still not about that, and I would be a champion for anyone who's going through those kind of struggles.
Right. So kind of after you finished your high school career and you went out to college in Albany, at this point now you're 18, you're an adult, you understand a lot more things about the world.
Yeah.
So were you very kind of self-conscious about being Asian in this college upstate and standing out from the crowd like you said?
Right.
Were you nervous? Were you excited? And kind of what was your emotional state?
Going to college was amazing because it just opened me up. Because before then, because we lived in really small towns like Rome and then in Rockland County, I was almost always one, if not the only Asian in town. So yeah, I felt very isolated. I felt very different. I didn't blend in. My face wasn't in the media. I wasn't in TV or film, any of those kind of things. When I went to college, I think because there's so many kids, right, and you get exposed to such different levels of diversity, it felt magical to me. I felt like, oh my God, I found my people. And it wasn't like I came running after every Asian person I saw, but it was just nice to see more representation of people that look like me walking around campus and just gravitating towards different kinds of friends, whether they were Asian, black, white, gay, straight, whatever. It just was this beautiful environment, people just getting to know each other as people and not as race or whatever. So that gave me another boost in confidence, and to see that I could, not compete, but just like go with it as well as anyone else, and that I wasn't different because of the shape of my eyes or the color of my skin.
Right. And so going back in time, actually a little before that, besides that kickball incident,
Yeah.
did you ever feel that you dealt with like some kind of bullying in high school or sorts because you were Asian?
In high school, I think there were a few people that tried to bully me, but I didn't let them. Because also I was trained in martial arts, so I had that confidence. Not that I beat anyone up, but like they kind of knew like don't mess with me.
Yeah.
But there were some that tried to push me down, and I felt as an Asian, I think as a ethnic minority in the U.S., there's always a little bit of you have to try harder. There's this unspoken truth that, and I'm not gonna get too like social political, but when you come from a minority background, you always have to prove yourself to the majority. So whether that was in high school or even in college and then afterwards and trying to get jobs, I always felt like I had to be better. I had to be smarter. I had to be faster. I had to be stronger. I had to be quicker. And in order to compete with a baseline which was above my head. So that was in high school. I mean, even with dating, like because I was one of the only Asians, it was hard to get dates in high school.
Right.
When you look at Hollywood and film, whatever, Asian guys are not viewed as sexy or cool or like we're the geeky ones. We're good at math. We're reliable, but not the ones that girls go running after. So that felt like a deficit. So I was a punk. So I took it to a whole nother extreme where I had like crazy hair and wore like big black clothing and like. So I stood out in a different way because I felt like I couldn't compete with the mainstream in trying to blend into mainstream because obviously I'm not. So what I decided to do was be my own person and stand out in my own individual way, which was to be like a goth punk and be like a freak. But I owned it. The way I dressed, the way I presented myself, I owned that versus someone judging me and trying to make me fit into a mold.